A very warm welcome to our second English tasting. I hope it will not be the last one that we do today.
We hope you made yourself comfortable. We got some pictures already from people preparing. So, very warm welcome to you guys in England, in Ireland, in Poland, in the Netherlands. And if you're from somewhere else, write to us. You have the chance to interact with us, and we invite you to ask questions you always wanted to ask a German winemaker.
What are the rules for tonight? Are there any do's and don'ts?
Do empty the bottle. Don't kill someone with a sword you've organized yourself for tonight to open the sparkling wine. And be open.
Be open. Be open to German wines, to German Riesling, to German Burgunder wines, to German sparkling Sekt. And
yeah, today it's
about
origin mainly. We really want to talk to you what's very important to us. It's about the origin, not just of our customers, of who we sell our wines to.
Of you. Your origins.
But especially about the origin of the wine. Now there's wine everywhere in the world. And there's a lot of wine here where we live. And we want to talk to you about why origin is so vastly important.
Important and relevant. And talking about origin, I know that tonight there is someone online coming from the Bahamas. A friend of mine who used to study with me together in St. Leonard's Mayfield
The
College.
Bahamas?
No, but she's from the Bahamas, if I remember well. Mel, do write so if I'm wrong. So, origin is tonight's theme.
Yeah, and that's why we do this, why we're able to do this, because part of our origin is in England also. Both of us went to school in England.
We're lucky enough to have the possibility to go.
And that's why we want to say hello to also Guy Sankey is watching today. He went to Downside also. So whoever went to Downside, raise your hands.
We can't see it though.
They can raise their hands via the internet.
Absolutely.
And do some sport at home.
And send us a picture. While you do that, send us a picture because we're doing a huge multi-picture with all our live tasting participants, which we will hang up here in our wonderful wine studio, which is also the time where we are most of the day, because that's where we work. That's not only where we do the tastings with you tonight, but if you can look through the door there, you can see that there's a desk with a computer, and that's in these rooms is where we breathe day in, day out.
Breathe, live, work. It's a kindergarten. Our two boys, they play here. It's the place where we eat together, where we spend our time together from morning till evening, basically.
And it's also the home of our wild hunting dog, Cassiopeia. Every winery needs a wine dog. Ours is a golden retriever, a hunting line. And yes, she's our oldest family member. 2 years old.
Oh, younger than I am, but older than our two boys.
That's not too hard.
That's not too hard. I'm not that old. I feel I'm not old. Yeah. Well,
what are you
planning?
I
had a big... Oh, it's opening already.
Oh.
I had a big email writing back and forth with an officer from the English army, Cecily, your father, who discussed with me how to open a bottle of Sekt, of sparkling wine, properly. Now, JD, I'm sorry, I will say with the way I did it. JD says instead of moving the sword, the saber, you move the bottle.
Felix, I think it's opening.
It's opening already?
Yes.
Ah! Sorry, it's not meant to. It's
Should I
meant to
take-
open like this. So we'll see whether it will. So the camera people are ducking already. It's this should not happen.
No,
but
but
I
if you
opened the
want-
curve and I want to do it the elegant way. Now you move along. and
Oi! Bravo!
now the bottle obviously
done.
had a lot of pressure on it. So if ever you want to celebrate something, if ever you want to impress someone, this is a way to open a bottle of sect, champagne, sparkling, whatever.
I also saw someone the other day doing it with a fork, which was very impressive, I thought. Of course, it's not as elegant as with a sword, but it's really, I wouldn't have thought that it worked. So
Well, that's
if
for
you didn't open the bottle yet, go and try.
that's for the poor people with you. You take a knife. If you are up for tradition, you use a sword, of course. But yeah, you can actually just do it with a knife, with normal cutlery. Yeah. Cheers to you. Great to have you here this evening. We're looking forward to the questions to the wines we have here tonight.
Concerning the questions,
Cheers.
you can either write directly, cheers, you can either write directly into the chat your questions, or for those who are not registered in YouTube, you can write an email to Victoria with C at prinzsalm.de. Victoria at C.
Victoria at prinzsalm.de.
I will also write it again in the chat.
Perfect.
Perfect. Again, cheers, and then I'll be off. Leaving you to your origin and the wonderful.
Maybe you can pick up the cork and bring it back
if I
once
find
you
it.
come back.
Yes.
Yeah.
See you later.
Perfect. So we want to take you through what we do. We want to tell you about our life here. We want to talk to you about our wines. We want to talk to you about our family history. And we hope to cover most of what you're interested in. We have one special guest, so if you're already flattered about my fabulous English, you will be even more flattered about the English of our special guest this evening. But you will have to wait and see. It's going to take a couple of wines. I think he put it that way: Felix, let me drink 5 bottles and then I'm ready to come on the show. So, yeah, surprising guest tonight. Looking forward to talking to him also. Also, we have something else prepared for you. We will take you live. We will take you through the place we live. So you can also imagine where we are, where we originate from. And if you are one of the people who are let out of your country or your region in these times, and you go either south or you go from south to north, you basically drive past here. If you go from England to Austria or Croatia or Italy, you drive by here and you can stop over and visit us. And we will also have our first real tasting here at the estate again after more than half a year of a break. And that will be on the 24th of August. So we actually having guests here again to taste wines with us here. And if any one of you are around the region on the 24th, 25th of July, you are welcome to come here and we'll have a German tasting, also live, but in the courtyard of the castle. Now about the sect. We love sect. We love sparkling wine. In Germany, sparkling wine is a very important section. Germans were among the people who invented sparkling wine, champagne. In the Treaty of Versailles, it was put down that champagne is only allowed to be called champagne when it's from the champagne. Until then, German sparkling wine was called champagne if it was made the way champagne is made. And that's what we're talking about. Everything we do, all our sect is made with the méthode champenoise. So we have a second fermentation on the bottle. So we have a wine which is dry, and this wine is, you put it in a bottle, in this bottle, and then you have to do a second fermentation on the bottle for at least 9 months. Now we usually do 18 to 24 months minimum, and this is a blend of 3 Pinot grapes, so Pinot Noir, Pinot Blanc, and Pinot Gris. Those are the 4 grapes which are found in the Wildgraf. And the Wildgraf translates into Wild Count. So it's one of the family titles. We are called Prinz zu Salm, Wild und Rheingraf. So Count of the Rhine and Wild Count. So wild as in outrageous, as in rough, as in I think you see where we came from and what we were like. Everything we have here tonight are wines from our own estate. So everything we're tasting is grown here in Wallhausen. So whenever you do come here, I will show you to the vineyard and show you where these wines were. I just had a guest this week, and she had been on one of the shows, and she said, Felix, can you please show me where this wine is grown? We drove there. I showed her to her, and she got a great impression of what we do in the vineyards also. So everything grown at our estate, it's all estate grown fruit. It's all VDP and sustainable grown. VDP is it's a membership of the best 200 wineries in Germany, and Fair and Green is a sustainable logo. I will talk to you more about that later. Remind us to do a selfie with you. We're gonna do one today also. So if you want to put up the wall, you do that. We have to do it also later when Victoria comes back, and you can kind of see what's behind the camera also. So I think to start the day with sect, always a good way to go. Just yesterday, someone came here to interview us from a magazine in Germany, and she asked us what time of day we start drinking, or would be a good time to start tasting. Basically, the earlier the better, because the earlier you taste professionally now, the more intense your taste buds are. So the more concentrated, the less used up the taste buds are. Have they seen the bottle? Okay, maybe you see the Wildgraf, and a great label. My wife designed it, so it's really something. Yeah, we do everything. Wine growing, we do the work in the wine cellar, and we even do the marketing and the labeling. So it's really all in our hands. And yeah, I'll go on to the second wine, or first wine, to the Weißburgunder. And as you saw already, maybe Germany generally is, and even we are known for Riesling. Riesling is the #1 grape variety in Germany. And Germany is the best country to make Riesling. There's great other countries who make Riesling also, but on a big scale, Germany Riesling is what you need. 100 years ago, German Riesling was the best grape variety, the most expensive grape variety in the world. And slowly we're heading back to the top again, which I'm very grateful for my father's work and my our generation before us who had a lot to do with the upcoming of Riesling again. So Pinots, we had the 3 Pinots in the sect. We now have the Pinot Blanc by itself. And I love this Pinot. For us, I now have the 2019 vintage already, because we actually sold out of the vintage you have in your glass. It's a 2018, but generally speaking, Pinot Blanc Weißburgunder is also in Germany a very important grape variety. Pinot in general is, Germany is the second or third biggest Pinot producer in the world. So whenever you're looking for Pinot, Germany is a great place to go, just because the climate, the origin, the soil, the terroir here in Germany is perfect for Pinot. We also do Pinot Noir. Sadly, I can't show you today. Who was with us last time? 4 weeks ago, we had our first English live wine tasting. You will have tasted what Pinot can do in Germany. Later, we will show you what Merlot can do in Germany. But for now, we'll stick with the Pinots. Pinot Blanc, for me, is one of the wines to always have chilled in your fridge. It's a perfect food wine. It's a perfect wine to sit outside, to enjoy just by itself. But you can have it perfectly with pasta, with pizza, with salads, with chicken. It's a wine, I think, which compares to a lot of different types of food very, very well. You have a nice acidity, you have nice ripe and yellow fruit aromas, but still it's very lively, but it's also bold. It's kind of silky on the palate. You have a great balance. Some citrus when they're young, and a great aftertaste. So it's really a wine which stays with you long. We are now also experimenting with Pinot Blanc in barrique, in small wooden barrels. That's my wife is experimenting with it. So look out for the 2018-19 vintage. We will have also a second Pinot Blanc. Although I'm sorry to talk about it because, but you just have to keep track on our winery, and you will see when we release it. If you are interested in it, just write to us and we will put down your name and inform you when it's come that way. Now, we want to show you where we live. We want to take you into our castle. You've seen where we work, where we sell our wines, where we spend a lot of the time of the day. But, so you really get an idea of where we are. We prepared a film for you and enjoy watching it.
Hearty welcome to Wallhausen, surrounded by mountains, by vineyards. We think our home valley is most beautiful. 1,600 people living here. My ancestors founded the first wine school in 16th century already to protect the viticulture and to really grow for quality. So now we will go to the house itself, which was built in 18th century. That is our coat of arms, our logo. The two salmons from my side, and that's the Philippa's logo, Castell family. So the salmons since centuries are with us, and my grandfather Salm married my grandmother Dahlberg, so they were the 29th generation, and now I'm the 31st and Felix the 32nd generation of working here at that very place in Wallhausen. Now welcome to my home. My home is my new castle. The old one is Dahlberg. This one was the estates building and became the castle in 18th century. Built by my grandmother Dahlberg. You see the coat of arms up there. And also you see the Christian wording that this house should service to the Lord, as does the church, which also is built by my family. I do love this stairhouse with the 4 big trees, oak. They had been transported 250 years ago on the Rhine River to Wallhausen. The Rhine is of most importance for my family. 1,000 years ago, we came as a family tribe from the Rhine to this Nahe Valley here, found Dahlberg, built the old castle, and started the cultivation of the country. Cultivation with wine, vineyards. We built a school for top quality winemaking and went on living here with short interruptions when foreigners visited us, but we always came back and lived then here in this house, which till 1715 was the estate building. 250 years ago, we moved from Dahlberg to Wallhausen, and now we live here with 3 generations. It's a real family home. And we would heartily welcome you all visiting us here.
So if you're wondering where our name comes from, where we originate, we don't actually originate from here. Part of my family does. But the other part comes from Alsace-Lorraine, where there's a spring. And they used to say that the salmon, the fish, lay their eggs there. They swam up the Rhine, laid their eggs, came back. And that's why on the bottle and on the label and everywhere, I don't know whether you can see it here, we have the salmon. That's our surname. Salm is salmon. In Germany, we have 2 words for salmon. One is Salm and the other is Lachs. Today, mostly you will hear about Lachs, because Lachs we named the salmon in the salt water, whereas in the Middle Ages until 19th century, Salm was the salmon in the sweet water. So we used to have 2 words for the salmon, and one of them is my family name. That's why on the family crest, maybe Amelie can show you on the family crest on the side, you have the 2 salmon, and that's why they're on the bottle everywhere and on the capsule and so forth. That's our family name. Great coming to England to school. You were with those stutterer. What's it called, stutterer? Stottern, I'm not too so sure. So they just could, and always great for a laugh or name. Even in Germany, no worries. Sometimes the German humor is similar to the English humor, not always, but sometimes. That's the salmon, and that's our family name. So part of my family originates in France. What is France today? It was one like a lordship, which was under our jurisdiction. Until Napoleon came, he kicked us out. Ever since we're here. Whereas the other part of my family has always been here. So we've been making wine here in the same estate for more than 800 years straight. I'm the 32nd generation to make wine at this estate. And we even have vineyard sites where we know we've been growing wine at that vineyard site for 800 years. For more than that, we don't have a founding date, of course. We just know when we were already there, but we have not found yet any documents where it says, and the great whatever grandfather of Felix started the winery, just because it's too long ago. We originate here. We know that the family has been here for more than 8 centuries, working the vineyards, and we know that some of our ancestors were more into wine than others. We know, though, what we do know is that a lot of them were really into the winemaking, into the wine growing. And one of my ancestors already had a classification of vineyards 200 years ago. So beginning 19th century. So if you compare this, the first Bordelais classification system was done at the big fair in Paris, I think 1850s. So even 50 years before that, we had a classification system here already. And that's so exciting to know your origin, to know where you're from, and also to know what work people did before that. Now I think we have some questions. We will have my wife Victoria come and join me at last again.
Last and again. Yes, first of all.
She's our social media agent.
Yes.
You can see with a nice old typewriting machine.
Good old Erica, produced in Germany. First of all, I already got some pictures from Sweden and Norway and from the UK. Thank you very much, Mel. And Watsons, Yorks and Collahans are online and send their warmest regards. Felix. Oh, and Gilly from Ireland, a friend from Mariana.
Oh.
They went together to boarding school as well in Cork. And I think she gave the wine box to her father as a present for tonight. So,
hello to you.
Yes.
You see, most of us went to school in England or Ireland. You can decide for yourself whether it was because we were too bad for the German system or whether we thought the English system was so good. We can discuss that maybe after the next 3 bottles.
Where did you get this word from?
From my nephew.
Okay.
My nephew got this from my father. It's roughly 200 years old, but it wasn't a real fighting sword. It was more for decoration.
I see.
Yeah.
So Felix, we had the sparkling...
Out of the belly of an English opponent.
Okay, now I can see that.
I'm kidding.
Felix, we had the sparkling to begin with. Could you tell us what the difference is between a Sekt and the Prosecco?
It's the origin. So Prosecco is a name for the region in northeastern Italy where those grapes are grown. And that's the region, Prosecco, where Prosecco is from. There's certain rules about Prosecco. Sekt is a very wide word, sadly. A lot of things are allowed with Sekt. You always have to look for high-end producers who will do Sekt the traditional way. So
it's also written at the back of the bottle, isn't it?
Yeah, you see it's in German traditionelle Flaschengärung, so traditional method of wine tasting, of
Winemaking.
winemaking,
It's a little
and
bit.
yeah.
Okay, so
Sekt doesn't, sadly, has no. You can have Sekt, which is you just put carbon dioxide in it, CO2 in it, and you can have Sekt made this way. So Sekt doesn't stand for quality necessarily. So you really have to check out high-end producers and look for the traditional way of doing it, like the champagne way does it.
So our Sekt is basically like a champagne because it's done via the same method and cannot be compared at all to a Prosecco. Would that be the resume? Or
No, Prosecco can also be made in this very good way. So,
okay,
but it's a thing for the region. Yeah,
I thought okay.
like let's say Cava in Spain, or those are names, or outside of the Champagne in German, in France, you call the sparkling wines. Now I don't get the name. So they're made the same way because only the champagne is allowed to call it champagne. But the same method of making champagne is also used in various of other countries, like with
For
us
example,
with Sekt.
yeah.
But Sekt doesn't necessarily mean the traditional way of making, because the law about Sekt is not very strict. So you always have to look for the traditional method.
And it has to be written at the back of the bottle. Yes.
No, you can write it in the front also.
Okay, but it has to be on the bottle. So
doesn't have to be on the bottle.
Okay.
No.
I just think about the orientation for.
It's very difficult. I'm sorry to not give you a very
The
good
easy,
answer.
okay.
But with Germany and Sekt and sparkling, it's not easy to
Okay.
know. You have to go by the price. Everything under 10 euros, you know it's not going to be a high-end Sekt. Above that, 10, 15 euros or whatever pounds, you will probably know it's going to be higher end. So when you're looking here at 15, 20, 25 Sekt, German sparkling, you're going to know it's something a high end. Or high end, yeah, go prices, yeah, whatever.
So Felix, we have now tasted one Burgunder wine and one Burgunder Sekt. And did you already start with the Bingen Riesling?
Yeah.
Okay. So how important is the origin in general? Are there any grapes where origin is more important than with other grapes?
Yes. So with Riesling, the origin, the soil is most important with Riesling. There's no grape variety around the world which is so much influenced by the terroir, by the region, by the soil as Riesling is. We see this also in Pinot, Pinot Blanc, Pinot Noir, Pinot Gris, Merlot, Cabernet, whatever. Soil is very important for those grape varieties. And if you want to make high-end wines, you need to have super soils. You need to have the perfect soil for the grape. So every grape needs kind of a different soil type. With Riesling, it's even more so because Riesling can really show the soil. That's why we also have this batch of soil here on the table to really remind us that Riesling tastes like the soil. And Riesling really becomes an ambassador for the soil. Yeah.
More than a Burgunder.
Yeah, more than any other grape variety.
Yeah. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So that were the questions from this side. Good evening from a fellow OG, Felix, to you, from Philippe Dambrou-Menil. I hope I pronounced it right.
Oh, welcome. Great you're here. great to be in contact with so many.
Yeah.
Hearing, writing, for us is such a great joy. We haven't been able to go out a lot in the past 4-5 months. And so for us, it's an even bigger joy. That's why we started this, because we were not able to go to people to sell our wine, to talk to them about a wine, to taste our wine at
To invite them
fairs,
here.
at tastings, to go to England, to the US, to have tastings here.
Yeah.
We cancelled everything. We cancelled all our trips, like I guess a lot
Everyone,
of you also. So that's why in March we already started with the first online wine tasting, and that's what you see. What you see here. We'll have a third English live tasting on the 4th of September. So even though we hope everything will open up again and everything will go kind of back to normal, we will continue this way. So spread the word, tell people about this. 4th of September is the date. You can sit down again and enjoy some beautiful German wines. We have put down the list of tasting already on the website, so you can look it up there and proceed.
Yeah.
Some new wines, some new vintages, and so forth.
Felix, this Riesling is from Bingen, from Rheinhessen. So,
how many German wine regions do we have?
13?
Hallelujah.
Yes?
Yeah.
Okay.
13.
13 wine regions in Germany, and we have wines in 2 of them, which is Rheinhessen and Nahe. The first 3 were from Rheinhessen, right?
No, the first was also from Nahe. Yeah.
The first
It's a
was
blend.
okay.
We have we originate here in the Nahe region, but we expanded to the Rhine. So in Bingen, Nahe is a river, and the river Nahe contributes into the Rhine in Bingen. And Bingen is on a 4-border country, whatever. 4 wine growing regions hit each other in Bingen. It's the only
spot,
place
Yeah.
in the whole world
Is that so? No.
where 4 wine growing regions touch each other.
Is it true?
Yeah,
Okay.
I tell you.
I learned something. Excellent.
Even if I made it up, who's going to check? No, I tell you, in Bingen, 4 wine growing regions touch each other, and that's unique. It's not known from anywhere else in the world. So wine growing regions, the origin is very important. My family has been making wine here forever. We used to have vineyards on the Rhine in the 19th century also. And my father and my mother had the chance in 1994 to take over an estate in Bingen. So having 6 children, they thought it'd be a good idea to start something new, because you never know, maybe one of them is crazy enough to study winemaking and make wine himself. And 20 years later, that's exactly what happened. 10 years later, even, it's what happened. And so now we have vineyards in the Rheinhessen region. So just to give you an idea, Germany has altogether 100,000 hectares of wine.
100,000 hectares.
France has 900,000.
Okay.
Spain has 1 million, I think. Italy has 900,000. So Germany,
one of the
in
smallest.
comparison, is a little smaller.
Yeah.
But we're fairly productive.
That's what they always say about the Germans.
It's the way it is.
Productive and boring. Well,
you think I'm boring? You never told me, sweetheart. Oh dear, you had the chance to marry an English guy.
We are with the Bingen Riesling
Doesn't listen to me.
2018 was the question. 2018 Bingen Riesling, the third wine on the list. And I will leave you to describe the wine and to say what is so special about it.
Because you're bored
And
with me.
no, because you're German and not funny and English, British or Irish. Well, okay, goodbye.
Maybe if I finish all of the bottles myself, she will think I'm funny. Bingen Riesling. This is Village. This is second tier. So we have a 4-tier system at our winery. And 3 of these tiers we're tasting. We have the estate wines. You know they're going to be from here, that you know you have a great quality. You know you have a wine from the region, which represents the region. Then we have the village, the Ortswein. It's the village. It's only from vineyards in the village. So you know the origin is a little more concentrated. And then now we're showing the VDP. You can see now the pyramid, the 4-tier system of the VDP. We are member of. My father was president for 17 years. And the peak of the pyramid is the Erste Lage, the Premier Cru, and the absolute peak is the Grand Cru, the Große Lage. And that is something not only Germany does, but that's the international way of classifying your wines. The more precise the description on the label, the higher the quality. We are member of the VDP. The VDP is this emblem you have on the capsule. It's this eagle with a grape cluster inside. And you know that once you see this, it's going to be one of the top 200 estates in Germany. You know that when you see this eagle, it's estate grown fruit. Now you might say, of course, all wine is grown at a winery. No, most of the wine you find in the supermarket, wherever, 90% of it is bulk wine put together at some big wine bottling companies. And you don't know, you maybe know it's from Germany or from Europe or wherever, but you don't necessarily know exactly where it's from, and it's hardly ever going to be from one winery only. So this is family grown, family estates, where, at least in Germany, most of the time family members are working at the estate and making the wine. And that's what you can see here when you come here. We grow the wine in the vineyard, we do the crushing and the winemaking in the cellar. We also do the bottling and the labeling, and we do the sales also, as far as you can come here and taste the wines and buy them. And that's something really unique, that you have one product from beginning to end in one hand. So we're not only farmers in the vineyard, we are not only cellar workers, we also do marketing and sales. And so winemaking, wine growing, running a winery is amazing, because you have so many different jobs all in one. Now this is the Bingen Riesling. I talked to you about Riesling being the #1 grape variety in Germany. It's the most important grape variety there is. It's the grape variety which does best, which shows best the character of Germany, of our soils, of our origin. And we're so grateful. I'm so grateful. My father handed over the estate also with so much Riesling grown on it, because it does very, very well in our climate conditions with the soils. And it's just amazing to be able to really put origin into the bottle. That's what we do here. It's a dry Riesling. We do off-dry Rieslings. We do Spätleses, Auslese with high residual sugar also. This is now dry in style. You have grapefruit, apricot, nectarine in the nose. You have great acidity, minerality, kind of fleshiness on the palate. And what for me really is a sign for great wines is how long it stays with you and that it really works you. Now, this is still very young. Our high-end wines we only sell after 3 years. So Riesling is one of the grape varieties you can really age for a long time. That's what we're going to show you in the next wine, that with a little age, you can have a lot more taste, a lot more input in the wine. And that's something we are really fond of here at our estate. So I studied winemaking. There's a winemaking school only 45 minutes from our estate. It's one of the most renowned winemaking schools in Germany, and also abroad. If you go to New Zealand, the US, South America, a lot of winemakers who went to Geisenheim, that's what it's called, have gone abroad and have been very, very successful in working in other estates. We come to the second dry Riesling. So we have two dry Rieslings now side by side. And we have now a single vineyard Riesling, which I wanted to show you. And it's from red slate, so you can keep the soil in place here. And what we love doing is decant our wines. Because with decanting wines, you will see that there's a lot more aroma which shows. And when you stick your nose into this, you will see you've got more riper, dried fruits, more dry nectarine, a touch of honey, maybe even some nuttiness to it, like caramelized. More strength, more width in the nose. And now we go to the Nahe. So just now we were in Bingen. Now we're in the Nahe region, which is where we're here. And this is only 1 kilometer from our estate, the Sommerlocher Steinrossel. It's a single vineyard site. So we're now at the peak of the pyramid. It's a single vineyard site. You know there's only ever going to be a couple of thousand bottles in the whole world. You know it's going to be very unique. It's only from that soil. And it's something extremely special to us. And it's also one of my, it's the most favorite vineyard site of my wife. She loves this, and maybe she can say 1 or 2 words about this also. Everyone has their favorites.
Yes, in mine is
When
definitely.
did you
Discover
discover
Riesling?
that this is your
That's
favorite?
actually a good question, because we have about 32 wines, more or less, on our list. And when I started here 3 years ago, I knew 3 possibly, which we have tasted before. And then one afternoon, when I finished
You
work
didn't know
early,
what to do?
and I didn't know what to do, I grabbed, this camera or this? Okay, I grabbed one of the bottles from our fridge and tasted it, and it was the Sommerlocher Steinrossel. which I would love to hear from you, by the way. Sommerlocher Stein Russell. We'll ask Rob later on to say it. I didn't spoil anything.
So
And and I tasted it, and I was completely overwhelmed. You talked about the slight caramel, the slight nuttiness. And for me, Riesling was always something a little difficult to take. I didn't have a very good warmth with Rieslings. I was more of the Burgunder type or the Chardonnay type. Pinot, actually, first, yeah. And when I tasted this one, it opened a whole new world to me, because this is nothing like a Riesling that I had known before, which could have been a little more harsh. And this meltiness, this whiteness, this structure and this full body, which this aged Riesling has, completely overwhelmed me. And since then, the Sommerlacher Steinrossel is one of my really most favorite wines.
So it was love at first sight.
Yes, absolutely.
Just like with me.
Almost.
I wish.
Almost the same.
Almost. 10 years later, love at first sight. So
no,
you
but that's
started
also
3 years
the reason.
ago. What did you do before?
Before I worked in political communications in an agency in Berlin, and then here in Mainz for the pure politics, for the CDU, for Angie's party.
Have you ever met Angie?
No, not in person, no.
No? Not on a big show?
Yes, of course.
You waved
I
to
know,
her?
I went to the loo with her. Now that you say it,
Very
yes.
interesting.
Yes. Well, it's not for, yes, but well.
They let you inside with her?
Yes. Yeah.
They don't check you out, the bodyguards or something?
No.
No?
Yeah, now that you say it, yes.
Huh.
Interesting, huh?
Back to the wine. Sommerlocher Steinrossel. So when you look at old wine lists in Germany, abroad, 100 years ago, they would only write the vineyard site name on the list because the site is so important. The vineyard site is so important. The vineyard site is the star. The vineyard site.
Not the winemaker.
Not the winemaker, I mean, they're important, but the labeling is important. Everything around it is important.
But the orange.
But it's all worthless, especially the high end, without having the best vineyard sites. Now, 3/4 of our vineyards are in steep slopes on scarce soils.
How do you stand there? If you during harvest or during the work
Well,
in the
it's like
vineyard?
you walk today. See?
Yeah, because I injured my foot.
It's they say wine growers in the Mosel and the Nahe, they walk like this because one leg is shorter than the other.
Because most of the time they stand really in the deep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, but that's why I have one shoe with a bigger. What do you call it?
No, not soil. No, soul.
There's
Amelie?
a bigger
Sohle?
layer under my feet, so I don't limp because over centuries that has one leg is always shortened in our family. But you can see I'm a nice guy still. What?
Yeah, nice story. Felix, we have a question from Alistair Watson. Why are some Rieslings high in alcohol and others low? Did you talk already about the process of fermentation?
Mr. Watson, I always wanted to say that. Alistair, yes, there is various explanations to high or low alcohol. One is where you grow the wine. Generally, the further down south you go, the more sun, the more heat, meaning a higher level of ripeness, meaning a higher level of potential alcohol. So more sugar in the grape due to more sunshine. so higher alcohol. That's why generally you will find in Spain, Italy, southern France
Always
a higher level of alcohol than in northern France, northern Italy, or in Germany. This is something that's the DNA of Germany, that the alcohol levels here are not always that high. So we have dry wines with 11.5, 12, 12.5% alcohol. And those are great wines. I mean, you see the Steinrossel now, that has 13, that's on the higher end, even the Bingen, depending on the vintage. But we hardly ever go above 13. Most of our dry wines are between 11.5 and 13% alcohol. 1, the grape variety. 2, some grape varieties tend to have more alcohol than others. And 3rd, it's the time of picking. How you pick the grapes, when you pick the grapes. We rather pick 1 to 3 days earlier in order not to get too high in the level of alcohol. Because what our wines are about, and what German wines especially are about, is the balance between acidity and residual sugar, also balance in the alcohol level. And alcohol can very quickly make you feel when tasting the wine that it's too rich. It gets boring after the second, the third glass. We want to have wines you taste, you drink, and you want to enjoy a second glass.
With the Trinkschluck-Reflexauslöser.
Trinkschluck-Reflexauslöser. It translates into, you know how Germany.
Callahan's translated it the other day.
Oh,
Cecily.
they did. Cecily,
yes.
can you write it
Galb,
in the chat?
something with Galb. Galb, Trinkschluck-Reflexauslöser.
Reflex
Yes.
starting wine.
Balance is key.
Who
Right,
says that?
Alvin Eckes. Probably he's from Wallhausen. I don't know.
Balance is key. Yes, balance is very important. Hi, Alvin.
Felix, what is the most challenging moment for you as a wine grower?
When you taste my wines for the first time.
Okay, because I'm so strict.
Yes.
Okay.
I tell you, it's when you get the wines out there the first time, and I mean she knows the wines beforehand also, but still when you do the final blending, it's an exciting time. But for me, the worst thing is to be patient. Yeah.
Because you want to get done things in a quick way.
Well, as a wine grower, you only have one shot per year. And then you have to wait for the second vintage. If you did something which was not perfect, you have to wait 1 year again. You work the whole year.
And
then
all
before harvest, it starts raining or whatever. Or if I want to plant something new, it takes me 3, 4, 5 years before doing it, before being able to harvest.
Yeah.
Because from planting to picking to selling a wine, it takes 3, 4, 5 years before you get the first bottle of wine. So patience is something I really is not so nice to. Hard way of learning in the wine growing business. What about you?
Well, I'm not a winemaker.
No, but you worked at the winery for 3, 4 years.
The most challenging.
Yeah, what's the most challenging for you working at the estate? Apart from working together with me.
I think which is really, really hard is we know what is in the bottle because we have tasted it. And we know about the good quality, we know about all the handwork that went into the quality and that made the quality. But then you have a potential customer who walks through a shop and you have only this one view of the customer to either pick your bottle or not pick it. And I think that's the biggest challenge, or one of the biggest challenges that we have, because once everyone is here in the vineyard and they can taste with us the wines, then it's an easy game. But we don't always have the possibility. And that's also one of the reasons why I'm so happy about this online tastings, because we can taste with you, even though you are so far away, which we didn't do before. Before we could only taste whether if you would have come here, or if we would have gone to the UK or to Ireland or to Sweden or to Norway. But due to these online tastings, we have the possibility to actually show you what we work for. And that's why I'm a big fan of the online tastings, and that's why we continue them. But yes, I think that's probably one of the challenges.
What's the most enjoyable part? Apart from working together with your husband?
The most enjoyable part is that you have a product which you can influence from the beginning till the end. So we start with work in a vineyard. Every step we take
Every step you take
can later be seen in the same bottle that also we produce. So we label it, we put on the capsule. We start with a little grape, or with the Rebstock, how do you call it?
The wine.
The wine.
Wine.
And we end with the bottle. And I cannot think about any other product where it works like this, that you really can look into all these different steps of production and that you can be part of them. I think it's unique, and that's, I think, one of the biggest joys. You have to be flexible, but you learn a lot. It's a lot of variety.
Very good.
Yeah. Okay, with these words, I leave you to it.
No.
Oh, no?
You're leaving again.
Yes.
So sad.
Oh, we have a comment from Cecily Callahan. Being in 2018, dry, fruity, but perfect for the super hot days.
It's super hot in England, I guess.
They are a little bit... Is it?
Yeah,
oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh.
Well, that's what I read. Everyone's crouching on the seaside and...
Oh, really? Oh, wonderful.
Yeah.
Well, I'll be off. If you have any further questions, please do not...
Please let her know.
Yes.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you very much. I think what this wine shows, and we'll have one more Riesling after this, how big the horizon is with German wine. You can't categorize German wine. You can't put German wine into one box. Be open, because German wines have so much to offer. Where's is my thing going down?
I'm back. No, but I think I do have the better microphone.
Someone said, or you think so?
No, I could hear it.
You could hear it.
I think we will just have...
Can you hear me? Here, I'll do it. Thank you very much.
Oh.
Thank you. German wine, and especially Riesling, is the grape variety to show the most faces, the most differences, the most different character styles. And that's what we love about Riesling. That's why Riesling is such a great grape variety, because it's like no other grape variety. It has such a huge spectrum. So when you talk about Pinot, Merlot, Cabernet, they all have a certain range of taste. Riesling is like this. You can have dry, off-dry, sweet, very sweet, high acidity, low acidity, creaminess, freshness. And Riesling shows the soil, shows the regions, shows the origin, and it shows so many different faces. And even for me as a Riesling winemaker, who's tasted a few Rieslings over the time, you never learn out. You always find a new Riesling, which is really exciting. And that makes Riesling to the most fascinating grape variety there is. That's coming to the to Princess Riesling, and so you can enjoy the two Princes by yourself without having me talk all the time. Pour yourself a glass and enjoy the second part of our film of the winery, of what we want to show you here at our estate.
Now we come to the old books. For example, here we have the maps of the vineyards. For every vineyard, one card with exact dating about how many rows, where are the walls, where are the boundaries, and that's documented for the last 800 years. And we also know about the vintages because every vintages is written down in a special book. For example, this one is from 1677, and here we can see all vineyards we still work with. Now we put it back and find the old deed from May 1219, so 800 years old. It's a copy of the old deed, documentation about the vineyard in Felsenegg, Breitwiesen, which we work on since 800 years exactly. And now we go to the courtyard. Here is our family home, built in grey slate. Grey slate brought from Dahlberg. And the first part is built in the 13th century, the small tower in the 16th, and the rest of the house in the 18th century. First it was only to store wine and for administration of the country. And in 18th century then we came down from Dahlberg Castle to Wallhausen. Dahlberg Castle was ruined at the end of the 18th century with the French Revolution, but we came back and still stay here in this beautiful part of Germany. I love the music in the cellar. There is nature, the wooden casks, oak, and the stainless casks. One for Riesling, the other one for Burgunder. So it's music here. It's hauling, it's the fermentation which blubbers. It's music in my ears. When the yeast starts fermentation of the sugary juice of the grapes into alcoholic wine. Now here we are at the entrance of our treasury. Here are the old vintages. We try to store every vintage, enough for all our family fares, enough for many generations to follow, hopefully. That's also the thing of our visit to the house, to the castle. So next time, please visit us in person. Hearty welcome.
I don't know about you, but I love this wine. I have to pour me a second glass. This for me and the cabinet, whoever wants to taste the cabinet in our next tasting on 4th of September, we have the cabinet. So animating, balance, residual sugar, acidity, great fruitiness. It's a little bit fleshy now, the 2018, but great acidity. It ends off dry, and you really have this balance between acidity, liminess, some nectarine, and then the acidity kicks in. That's what I love about these wines. And the Two Princes is always between 10, 11, maybe 11.5% alcohol. Super balanced, and it's a wine really for second glass, great for summertime, amazing for Asian dishes. If you're thinking sushi, if you're thinking spicy Asian dishes, this Riesling is a super wine to have with the food. And even if you have cheese, if you go into ripe cheeses, intense cheeses, you can have Cabernet or off-dry, even sweeter Riesling. It does just so amazingly well with food. That's why, in generally speaking, German wines are really big food wines. Other than a lot of the southern countries where you have big red wines, what are you going to pair sushi with? Big red wine? Not me. If you're thinking sushi, if you're thinking elegant food, you need to have an elegant wine to comprehense it, but not to overpower it. If I go to a super sushi restaurant or super Asian place, and I see light, elegant dishes, and then you have big red wines with it, why bother? Then you might as well eat and afterwards drink, or do it the other way around. But once one side overpowers the other, you have a problem. Also, Riesling is the grape variety which pairs with so many different kinds. Because Riesling has so many different faces, has so many different characters, so many different stylistics, you will see that Riesling you can basically pair with every kind of food there is. You'll have to find the right Riesling, of course, but I'm sure for every dish there is in the world, I will find you a super Riesling to go along with it. So, cheers again. This is our Two Princes. Two Princes talks about the 31st and the 32nd generation of wine growers here at the estate. Now it even starts talking about the 33rd generation, as our son Augustinus and Quirin are both here and hopefully will continue also the winemaking tradition. Having said that, no, I wouldn't have been abandoned to England if I had chosen not to do winemaking. But we hope and we have a good feeling about that. Although the only two, we will continue with this tradition for a couple of 100 years to come. That takes me to the sustainable part of our work, of our life, of what we do here in our winery. We're not only member of the VDP, the Top Wine Growers Association of Germany. In our region here, there's only 9 VDP wineries, so it's a very tight shop. It's a very high-end, prestigious community of winemakers in Germany. The other thing very, very important to us is sustainability. That's why we are a member of the Fair and Green. Fair and Green, and I hope, I believe, our super assistant Amelie, who's behind the camera, put into all of the cases we sent out a brochure of Fair and Green. She's nodding, so thankful about that. And go through it. It's one of the best sustainable labels there are, because it's not only about organic wine growing, it's much more than that. It takes into account, and you have to be accountable for all different ways of work, vineyard work and cellar work, but also of how you pay your workers, where they stay, for example, how you put them up. It also talks about of how sustainable the products are you buy. So talking about the bottle makes up 1/3 of the carbon dioxide footprint of a full bottle of wine. So when I reduce the weight of a bottle, of an empty bottle, I can reduce the carbon dioxide footprint by much more than I could by working organic or not organic. This sometimes makes up to 10-20% of the carbon dioxide footprint if I change, and that's what we did, if we go lower in weight of the bottle. We need bottles, we love bottles, but we have the choice to go with lighter bottles. Now, for high-end wines, we still use heavy bottles because it's also something for long aging process and something for the eye and for the feeling. But still, for most of our wines, the entry-level wines, we use light glass. Fair and Green talks about whether you collect water to use rainwater. It talks about how much fuel you use during the year, where you get your electricity from, and so on and so on. There's a catalog of 50 different pieces and bits. I even have it here, just thinking about it. And it's so detailed and amazing to look at. Basically, for all of these parts, there's around 50 parts we have to look at. And for each part, you have an actual point system. So the points we have now. And then it tells you what to do now quickly in order to get better, what to do next year, and what to do in the future in the long run. And it also tells you to improve your work every year by 3%. And that's something very unique. It's a European system, and it's mostly at wineries. It's only 6 years old, but I really feel it's the best system there is to really get an overview of sustainable wine growing altogether. Talking about that, we grow wine and we sell wine all over the world. That's why the Two Princes Riesling is kind of a re-import, because most of it we sell in the US. So Mike, Julie, if you're watching, thanks for doing such a great job in the US selling our wine. Sadly, your president is not so keen on wine and wants to charge us 100% tax on it. We dearly hope that's not going to be the case, and we're going to be able to sell our wines just like we used to in the past hundreds of years. Now we're working on the band to do the, what do you call it, Trommelwirbel in English. We have a very special guest to us who will introduce the next wine to us, and who will do so in a far more elegant way than I will ever be able to do. Rob, welcome.
I don't think I could beat your elegance. I'm very happy to be here tasting with you in person this weekend, really. And
How many times have you watched? Have you watched a couple of times?
twice in German, and I took part in the last English one.
Perfect.
Which was a lot of fun. And I'm very grateful because you introduced me and the family to this Merlot that went out tasting,
There you go.
which I won't be able to describe for you, but I'm very happy to taste with you.
Cheers.
Cheers. That's the swirl, the bourbon.
But describe why you like the Merlot so much.
Well, it reminds me of the best day of my life so far, of course, my wedding.
Was it the best day of
which
your
is,
life so far?
Yes, I have to say.
Yeah?
I'm drinking this wine, the 2015 Merlot. Will stay, of course, with me forever. And we have
Is it? Yes?
Yes, you probably have to hold it.
Okay. It's on purpose. When we have English guests, we fool them.
part of the humor, yes. So, no, the Merlot is one of my favorites from Zam because, of course, I had it at my wedding. So, the best day of my life, so to say, was there and present. But I have a few bottles of it at home. We open it sparingly, and it's my favorite red.
You still have 2015. We have at the winery, I think, Victoria, I think we have 6 bottles or something. I think we're going to have to buy it back from Rob. And your parents-in-law have a couple of bottles, no?
I think they have a bottle or two. If not, that's where some of those bottles are going to go. So the price just went up. But I know some of my friends are watching it home today, and they've been enjoying it the last hour or so. So they send their thank you as well. I can give that in person.
No, that's why we thought about Rob. Rob is here because he married my brother's wife's sister. So we are kind of brothers-in-law. And Rob's been for the past 3, 4, 4 years, 5 years.
Present, yeah.
5 years. Been coming here, and he's here today because our nephew Kaspar is having his first communion tomorrow. So we have a big family, not as big as usual, but a big family gathering here today this weekend, and that's why you're here.
Yeah.
Luckily, where do you live? What do you do?
Live in Hamburg, and I make a shower gel, so to say, for Nivea. So I'm in cosmetics and packaging, and unfortunately, I don't get to pack wine at the moment, but that would be a pleasure. So I can really appreciate everything that goes into these as well, and everything you're doing as well with Prince Sam wine.
What do you like about German wines the most?
I find them very refined. Big fan of Riesling and the Weissburgunder. And I wasn't aware of the red wine in Germany until I got here and you introduced me to the Merlot. But a fan of that and a fan of the Bingen. I find they are not overpowering, and I can really kind of experience what they're trying to bring over, and I very much enjoy them, and they're very available here. I wish they'd be more available back home.
That's a very good point. So all of you who are fearing the Brexit, be sure, and JD, thank you for the email you sent me 2 hours ago to remind me of this. Now is the time to buy German wine. In the next 6 months, as all toll-free, who knows what's going to happen on the 1st of January. So, and it's fairly easy sending wine over at the moment. So there's basically no tax at this stage. So JD, thank you very much. Cecily, please tell him a huge thank you. So whoever wants wine, it's now the time to buy. um, Also, one of my first nicest days in Hamburg was with your wife. Every year, my brother and father they sent out wine to people, and they used to send out 3 bottles. So one day I went to her and stayed with her because I was working in Hamburg, and we had nothing to do. And but basically, we did the Sunday it was or whatever. We spent the whole day drinking these 3 bottles, and it was amazing. At the Grindelhof, you still live there, no? Yeah.
So wonderful in Hamburg.
Yeah. Where do you originally come from?
So I'm from Cambridge and East Anglia. Exactly. And I've lived there most of my life, but I moved to the Netherlands and I've had a happy 6 years in Hamburg since. So post Brexit, I'm also looking to stay here, which
Yeah.
I can through also being Irish now, which is wonderful.
You're Irish.
Yeah.
Who's Irish in your family?
My grandmother on my mother's side.
I'm not sure whether I would have invited him knowing he's Irish. I'm kidding. Who is here of your friends? We have a list of some people we know here.
Sam and Susie are for sure here.
Yeah, Sam and
And the
Susie
whole family.
York.
With I think there's 7 people at home watching.
Perfect. I also want to say hello to the Nortons, yeah, and to everyone else. Please write if I'm not quite sure who is there. The Sadness, the Yorks, Guy, thank you, amazing. You and Rob were here to not you, but another Rob from Downside, and they did an internship here. So if you have young people who don't know what to do, who love to work outside and who love to be treated like slaves by myself, send them here. They'll have a great time drinking wine, working in the vineyards, working in the cellar. So if you have an 18, 19, 20 and older year old son, friend, whatever, who doesn't know what to do in September, October, November, send them to us and we will get everything which is spoiled in them out of them. No, I'm just kidding, but seriously, you can do internships at our state. Guy, it was amazing. I don't know how long, it seems 50 years ago, but I think 8, 9 years ago you came here to work here. Yeah, the Owens, Mel, Louise, Hugh, Xante. How do you pronounce that? Do you know? I wouldn't know. Xante.
Yeah, Sanfi.
Xanthi. So, Victoria, you coming? You have some questions? Come in our midst. You stay here. We need.
No escape for me.
Yes, Felix, I have actually seen ourselves on a balcony in Stockholm right now. So thank you very much for all the pictures that you have sent us. We are very glad, and we will let you know as soon as the multi-picture is finished so that you can also have one if you're interested in it.
Are we gonna sell it? No.
No, not sell it, but
Look at it.
as a gift, possibly.
Ah.
You know? Yes.
Very good idea.
Many greetings from Lexi Norton and many greetings to the Lucys in Ireland. Then Alistair says, wow, what a nose about the Merlot.
We haven't talked about the Merlot enough.
No.
Yeah.
So I would be very happy.
So Merlot, I think Rob said it already. I mean, Riesling, we love our Riesling. We are world's best country at making Riesling. But it's amazing how in the past years, other grape varieties have also settled in Germany. And I really believe when tasting this Merlot, a lot of you blindfolded, not knowing it's a German guy speaking, would think about German wine at this point. And yes, German red wine. We in Germany altogether we make 35% red wine, so it's a big chunk of German winemaking. The southern regions make more red wine than white wine. So it's something hugely important to us. We make around 10% red wine. One of them is a Pinot, one of them is a Merlot, which we are tasting now, and one of them we tasted last time, end of May, is a blend between Merlot and Pinot. Now this we only make 1,000 bottles of. 2017 we had nothing. Like with our single vineyard, top vineyard sites, if the quality is not perfect, we will not bottle the wines. So in 2017 there was no Merlot because we didn't feel it could stand up, that vintage could stand up to what we thought the wine should taste like. So we had 2015 the first Merlot, 2016, and now 2018 was a super year for Merlot.
Yeah, and I must say, I wouldn't, if it would be a blind tasting, I wouldn't think that it's a 2018 Merlot, this one that you all have in your glass today, because it's really young for a red wine, exceptionally. It's really, really young, but you don't taste it. It has already like this melt, it has this full body structure, this raspberry. It's already really full, which is really extraordinary for such a young wine, as I believe.
Now, and what you also saw we did in the Riesling is decant the wines. So really high-end Rieslings, just like the Merlot, or Merlot, not just like Merlot, but just like high-end red wines, decanting is a super way to make the wines open up. I know sometimes it can be a hassle, but it's so worth it.
It's worth to go the extra
If you
mile.
know tomorrow you want to drink 5 bottles of wine and there's a Merlot with it, open it the day before. Taste it and leave the bottle standing for 10-20 hours. That's a little bit like decanting it, and you will see, or even just leave it in your glass for 20 minutes, for an hour, and you will see how it will evolve and develop and bring out so much more.
Do you have a decanter, Rob, at home?
Not yet.
Not
So
yet.
I think that's going to have to go on my birthday list this summer, so I can start decanting out our wines.
Excellent.
My brother will be very happy to know
Yes.
what he's going to give you as as a Christmas present in December.
No, it's really, and it's also a good hint. Some of you possibly will have drunk all the bottles by tonight, others will not. You can drink these bottles really for the next 7, 8, 9, 10 days. Just keep them in the fridge. The white wines, the red wines, keep them outside, put the cork inside, and have them tomorrow or the day after. Enjoy them, and you will see how they open up and how they further develop.
Yep.
Two last questions. The first one, Cecily Callahan asks, 3 words. What is the perfect weather cycle for a Riesling? Does it profit from sun, for example?
Sun, rain, not too much.
Thank you, Felix. And Sam York, which is a friend of yours, right?
Yes.
Asks, which vintage of Riesling is our most favorite one? I can say for myself, it's a 2003. Which we have also tasted, 3 weeks ago. Yes, we are still drinking 2003 today because we believe in ripened Rieslings. That's when we really thoroughly enjoy Rieslings. And Felix, yours?
2015, because that's when we got married.
So kind. So yours, Rob, will be...
Well, it's from the Riesling. I think the 2014 Sommerlöcher was, or Dahlbergische.
Yeah,
Ritterhöhle?
Ritterhöhle.
Yeah, the
Yes.
Ritterhöhle. That would
Okay.
be my favorite Riesling, and of course
Yes.
2015 from the Merlot.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Wonderful. Here we have many greetings coming in from the Sankey brothers. We are spreading our beautiful wine across England. Thank you so much. That is the best way of supporting us. Thank you for having been here with us tonight. Which is our camera? I'm a little bit confused. I believe this one.
To the left.
Yes, to the left. Okay. We have a new thing, which is called the Zalm Grills, the grilling Zalm.
Okay, before the grilling zone,
Yes.
we will have to do with our special guest a selfie
Yes. Okay.
with Rob and the camera team in the background. So, Rob, perfect. Thank you very much. That's our selfies. So we also do selfies. We also do pictures to go up on the century picture. The Zalm grills. Grill? What English is grilling?
Yes, it's grilling.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's grilling. No, I looked it up before. What do you think? That you're working with an amateur or what? No. So the Zalm grills. It works like this, Rob.
No, but start.
Oh, but he doesn't know what to do.
I don't know what
I
didn't know
I
what to
start
do.
with a sentence and you have to complete it.
Oh.
Before I go to bed.
What?
It has to be faster. If I could bathe in wine, it would be
White wine.
my most loved vineyard site out of Germany is
Outside of Germany. It's I guess Burgundy.
Thank you. I have drunk about
Ooh. Tonight,
in general
in general,
bottles.
too many bottles.
What I love most about the UK.
The people.
If I would have a cash cow.
I would stop working.
Thank you very much. We will have another English tasting on the on the 3rd of September. On the 4th of September.
Friday, the 4th of September.
I'm a little bit drunk and confused. It was a pleasure having all of you here with us, and thank you, Rob.
Pleasure to drop by and
Yes.
be surprised and to surprise.
Excellent. Do we have anything else what we want to spread out there?
Well, I think, just spreading the word, tell people about this. We're so grateful and happy to have you here tonight, the Sankeys and so many other people. So thank you very, very much for joining us. No, otherwise, I mean, visit our website. We try to do some of it in English. You can order the things for September already. And you can order all of these wines really at Prince Allenby. If you have any questions because the website's not perfect yet, we have tried 800 years to perfect it. Just write to us.
Yes, and we will answer.
talking too
And
long.
but I briefly want to take the moment to thank the guys behind the camera, especially Amelie, who has been here for the last 2 months helping us and who is leaving us tomorrow. And yes, thank you for all your support. And thank you and see you soon. Bye bye.
Bye. See you soon.
Bye bye.
Tschüss.
I love my friends, and they love me. We're just as close as we can be. And just because we really care, whatever we get, we share. I got it from Agnes, she got it from Jim. We all agree it must have been Louise who gave it to him. She got it from Harry, who got it from Marie. And everybody knows that Marie got it from me. Giles got it from Daphne. She got it from Joan. She picked it up in Ireland, a kiss in the Blarney Stone. Pierre gave it to Sheila, who must have brought it there. He got it from Francois and Jacques. Aha, lucky Pierre. Max got it from Edith, who gets it every spring. She got it from her daddy, who just gives her everything. She then gave it to Daniel, whose spaniel has it now. Our dentist even got it, and we're still wondering how. But I got it from Agnes, or maybe it was Sue. or Millie or Billy or Jilly or Willie or doesn't matter who. It might have been at the pub or at the club or in the loo, and if you will be my friend, then I might. Mind you, I said might. Give it to you.
Super. Aber ja, so.